Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're here to talk to you about transforming M365 business operations with AI and everything that you need to know. There's a lot to talk about today, so I'm going to hand things over to our CEO, Scott Restivo, in just a moment. But a couple housekeeping things before we dive into it. There is a question box on the right-hand side. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop them into that box as we're going through the webinar, and we'll do our best to answer everyone's questions. And there will also be a recording. And so this will be posted to YouTube within 48 hours. We'll also send you an email with the recording if you've registered for the webinar. And we're really excited to dive into this today. So I'm going to go ahead and just not waste any time. I'll go ahead and hand things over to Scott Restivo.
Well, thank you, Krista. Thanks for the introduction. And thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to attend this webinar. I know, as Krista said, everything you need to know, and I don't think anyone could give everything you need to know about AI. So we'll give you a small little, as much as we, what we're encountering and running into as we adapt, to the open AI and all the very interesting and exciting things Microsoft's coming out with the open AI platform, the Azure Open AI Studio. So first, I'm going to start with something I was kind of playing around with this morning and thought was kind of interesting. I went to our crowcanyon.com, and I'm from Crowcanyon Software. We've been in business 24 years doing software development, business process automation on top of the Microsoft collaboration platform, starting with Exchange public folders, and then going to, Office SharePoint, then Office 365 and mobile, and now we're adapt into the new AI world. But anyways, we have this support page, we have a knowledge base there, and I put in a query just to see, how old school search was working, and here's a query I had just to give it a try, and you'll see the results here. And this is, so you get a whole bunch of results. Okay, you can click one, open it up. That's kind of what we're kind of used to, right? But now, if I do bring over what we're working on with our ChatGPT integration. This is our using Azure AI Open Studio. We did the same thing. We took all those articles that are in our .help FAQs, put them into a database, and using this enterprise data, we're able to enter the same query, and we get quite a different result. And it's just this, I just want to highlight this very stark comparison between where most of us are at and where this is going. So when you go ask the Nitro, it's a test environment, it's a little slower, because it's a demo kind of world, but it'll come back with results that is appropriate to that query I put in, and you'll see that it's very different than the list of FAQ articles that I got in the previous one, wherever that was on the other screen here. This was what I got in the old one, and this is what I get in the when we use our new FAQ using ChatGPT. Same query, set SharePoint permissions, right? And here it's given a nice list of what to do. I mean, the comparison between these two is so stark. We're doing ChatGPT is providing search synthesis, is providing an analysis, and I'll go into how that is going on. I mean, I obviously can't go into all the deep dev level details, but I'll give kind of overview of it as we go on. But this is interesting because they can do stuff like format this, format more casual. Let's see if it does this. Format more casual and see what it does. So you can change how the information is presented in real time, and you'll see. And it's kind of a warm up to the webinar, so that while people are still joining, we can go through some things. Here's one that says, see, here was the first one. Now it's answering more casually. Sure, I can explain it in simpler terms, right? And then I was working with Krista a little earlier today, just having fun, and then it said, let's try this, answer like a pirate. And I know it's getting a little ridiculous, but I saw this in one of the demos, and I said, I wonder if it really will do that. And so let's see if it does this, answer like a pirate. Not anyone will really do this in real time, but I thought, wow, this is getting so interesting what you could do with this stuff, and see what happens if it comes back what it did earlier today, and we'll see if it does it. I think you can do all kinds of things. The kind of interesting thing with that is maybe answer in French or answer in a different language or answer in a bulleted list versus other kind of lists. But just for fun, we'll see if it comes back. And this is just waiting for people to join, and then we'll get into the heart of this webinar in just a moment. And let's see if it comes back with that pirate type talking here, and if it works. I tried it earlier and it did. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Take a look at this. Isn't this fun? My hearty, just not an easy task, but I shall give it my best shot. I thought this was so funny. You know, was it out of the box here by me hearty? This article be describing the alternatives. So you can do all kinds of strange stuff with that, with this. And I thought, wow, it kind of blows my mind a little. I mean, I've been in this a long time, and it's quite amazing. So of course, what I had to do after that is go to OpenAI and ask the question, when is Talk Like a Pirate Day? And for anybody who wants to know, Talk Like a Pirate Day is celebrated annually on September 19th. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that before, but it used to be a thing with Dave Barry as columnist in Miami. Anyway, Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's kind of a goofy, fun thing, but I thought it'd be interesting to see how far we're going to go with this versus the regular normal chat. Isn't that interesting? Here, Talk Like a Pirate. I hope that fulfill piratical permissions in the yeah. So let's get into the rest of the demo. A little fun there. Okay, looks like enough people have joined. We got a really big crowd today. A lot of people interested in this. So let me show you where we're at. Crow Canyon's been around, like I said, 24 years. We're doing business process automation. We have thousands of customers all over the world improving their business processes, whatever it is, whether it's a preset application such as help desk, asset management, service desk, purchasing, contract management, any kind of HR kind of request. People all over using it, in government, big, small, manufacturing, education, nonprofit. We have our Nitro Studio, and we have our bots for teams. This has been the traditional business process automation world, but because people are taking old school stuff like email, spreadsheets, paper forms, legacy systems, including InfoPath, Lotus Notes, Access, SharePoint workflows, or outdated enterprise software, and turning it into more efficient business processes by using our business process automation tools. However, we're entering a new era now. Now, you got to understand, Microsoft Build was just at the end of May, so we're only about a month since Build, and that's the announcements and the what Microsoft showcased there has been really, I have to say, paradigm shifting and mind blowing. And our team has been working. They've been working in bots and AI for quite some time, but this is like a whole new world is opening up with ChatGPT availability in the Microsoft Azure OpenAI services. So now we're going to something we call IBPA. It is intelligent business process automation. No longer is it BPA. It isn't your grandfather or your father's or your mother's or your older brothers or even yesterday's BPA. This is BPA, this is IBPA, which is intelligent business process automation, combining BPA with AI to power your organization. And this is, I've been in this a long time, as I said, and this is really a game changer. This is paradigm shifting. This is, substantial stuff. And, a lot of times you go watch a lot of Microsoft announcements, you're like, okay, it's very incremental, but this is quite a leap in what's going on, and with their partnership, I guess you call it, with OpenAI and what's going on there in the competition with Google, Facebook, and others, Amazon. It's really accelerating this in ways that I think even the people developing it are just having a hard time imagining where this can go. I say we're really in the first inning of all this, and we see substantial changes. And part of that is, look, if you run any kind of business or consultant company, you got to jump on this train. I mean, I've seen a lot of things, come and go in technology. This is something that is substantial and needs to be paid close attention to. And it's going to affect you or your competitors, and you're going to need to know about this stuff. So we're doing all we can to help you out. We have a Nitro intelligence platform, we call it now, nitrostudio.ai. We've been building Nitro Studio for many years as a platform on top of SharePoint on premises, but especially on top of Microsoft 365, including the commercial GCC and GCC high environments, to give you a way to build forms, workflows, and other aspects of applications such as reporting, printing, list management, email formatting, sync in with email engines that come in provide a really robust tool for you to build applications, or at the same level, we use it to build our own applications. Our help desk, our asset management, and the other ones I mentioned earlier are built on top of our Nitro Studio, and it gives you a very powerful application with the capability to customize it and tweak it to what you need for your particular idiosyncratic situation of your unique world. Now, we also, including in our Nitro Intelligence platform, our Nitro AI services, which leverage Azure OpenAI and cognitive services, GPT, natural language processing. We have our Nitro Engage bot for Microsoft Teams, which gives users a new interface to use inside of Teams to accomplish business process automation. This is not just simply a Q&A bot or a FAQ kind of bot, just answering questions. This is a bot that actually engages with business process automation by giving you the opportunity to submit a ticket, approve a ticket, launch a purchasing program, and whatever other kind of workflow you can imagine using our Nitro workflows can be launched from the Teams bot. And then we use those to build our applications. So we're deep into this. In fact, we've just made the decision I made to go, we are now an AI first postured company, and this is where we're going with business process automation and the IBA we're talking about here. We have some ways we've been using AI traditionally, and I would say this goes back many years: the natural language processing, the LUIS, the cognitive services that Microsoft put out, Azure Cognitive Services, some years ago. You have a KB search. Instead of typing in exact keywords, you can type in natural language and have the KB search respond. That could be in our web portal. That could be in our backend app, SharePoint applications. It could be in a web form. And we also use it for email sentiment analysis, meaning that an incoming email from a user or a customer can be analyzed in a way and give this rating: are they angry, are they negative, are they positive? And if it's certain kind of criteria, such as perhaps it detected as an angry at level, whatever, level 7 or something, it's going to initiate a workflow to the manager or to other people that something needs to be done, or the workflows can set the priority or run another process, sound the horn, say, somebody's angry, we got to jump on this situation. But OpenAI and the GPT gives us many, many more ways to use AI in our application. And of course, in this, I mean also in your applications, if you're there developing them, or you're in your own organization. And this is just it's not a short list, it's a long, but it actually is a short list of what's possible with AI. And I think what's really exciting about all this is that we're developing new ideas almost every day as we encounter these things, and work with our partners across the world on what's going on. And there's a lot of I'd say collaboration and collegial type interaction at these different shows we go to. We're just in DC, we were in Vegas in May, and we're going to New York and Seattle this summer, and Chicago. We go a very interactive environment, and it's a really bubbling up and quite exciting. And I'm really glad everybody took the chance to join us for this webinar today and participate in it, because it's an ongoing conversation of how we all are going to use this technology to the best benefit. So some things we can do is we can have user self-help, staff augmentation. We can auto-generate responses to users, whether that's an email or a text or a chat response. We can auto-prioritize or categorize tickets or issues or questions or requests that come in. We can use natural language to generate Nitro reports. That's going to be very common, the co-pilot kind of concept, where you don't have to know all the underlying code, whether macros or Excel functions or whatever. You can just put in, show me a report of the comparing the ticket load from last month to the month before, something, whatever it is you want to know, and give me a pie chart on it. And then if you want it to show up with that information, it will. I don't know if it'll show up with pirate symbols on it, or I haven't tried that yet. But I kind of segueing off that a little bit. Also, the one thing that we're really getting a lot of progress on is being able to create Nitro forms just from a prop. Build me a hospital admission form, for example, and it will generate some JSON code that we can then interpret and build our Nitro forms based on. And not only the forms, but also the list schema and the workflows that go on behind it. Use MS Graph to contextualize responses. We know who the user is, what skill set they have, who they work with, and we use that kind of information to build up a response that is contextualized. And we have Nitro Engage bot interacting with our workflows. We have bot analytics, or telemetry, as we call it, to improve the bot performance. So these are just some of the places we're going with AI. It's a very active, and I'm talking with the developers almost every day, and we're making a lot of progress, and really exciting. It's really exciting stuff. So what we're doing to do this is using the Azure AI primarily for this. And Azure AI is built, if you look at this kind of involved picture, but it's really like a layer cake, someone called it. There's the AI infrastructure, the nuts and bolts of the computing that's doing the large language models and coming out with um, the ability to do this analysis, and then the machine learning is so that's there underneath, and from that comes the cognitive services such as language. I was talking about natural language processing, uh, Azure OpenAI, which we're leveraging a lot more now, and it's really exploded, I would say, since the spring, even just in the last month. In fact, I was telling one of our people, like, oh, geez, I created this PowerPoint on Thursday or Friday last week. It's going to probably be outdated by Tuesday, today, June 27th. So anyway, we got to do what we can. So there is also stuff with vision going on. I've seen cases where you can take a photograph of a broken part and the AI will tell you that, oh, that part is broken. Here's how you fix it. And here's the part you need to order. We haven't gotten there yet, but all kinds of interesting things, and that could apply to perhaps our help desk, or we also have an assetjourney.com program where we manage assets for retirement homes in Australia. It's one of our projects, and one of our offshoots of crowcanyon.com is assetjourney.com, where we're managing retirement homes in Australia, assets there, and the technician go in, take a picture of the dishwasher, and find out what part needs to be replaced. Haven't gotten there yet, don't want to overpromise, but we can see the potential there for that kind of thing. And then on top of that are the applied AI services. So it's quite a fascinating and intriguing world, and the possibilities are really opening up and expanding quite quickly. And so we are looking to build those in. So let me show you some other things we're doing here and go with what's going on. Now, this is from a Microsoft Build demo. Microsoft Build is it's interesting because you watch these demos, they're all pre-canned and they're all, going to work as long as the so-called demo gods, don't frown on them that day. But basically, what we do here at Crow Canyon, and have for like so many years, we work with real world data. And our experience, and I'll go into this a little bit later, with the real world data, using enterprise data is more complex than you'll see in a Microsoft Build demo. But that's good, because that's the challenge. That's the fun of doing this and making it work. So let me show you, let me show you a short clip from one of these demos they did, and I'm going to mute the sound, and I'm going to go through it and talk out, because it really excited me what the possibilities are here on this. So let me see, I got them muted. This is something, okay, just to set the stage, in this demo, this presentation, they had this Contoso Outdoors company, obviously just a made-up company, and there's a guy, this guy right here, Seth Juarez, who's a customer, is going to ask a question to the chat. So we're looking at it from kind of a staff perspective. This is what I call staff augmentation. So there's a staff perspective. There's a customer service rep who's going to get a question from Mr. Juarez. And as we go through it, it's going to play for about 2 minutes, and I'll walk you through it. But what they're saying here is that we know things about Seth. We know what he recently purchased. We know order. Now, if you extrapolate this to an internal help desk, from MS Graph maybe the skill set, who they work with, what projects they're working on, recent documents. So you're getting some background information. So when the person asks this question right here, let's stop right there for a second. Seth has asked this question. It's obviously a consumer type question to Daniel, the technician, and the AI was able to infer that it's a product question involving a cozy night sleeping bag. He didn't put that in here, but it was able to pull it from the fact of his order history. Now, if you think about an internal help desk, what it could do is say, maybe I have a problem with my laptop. Well, from our asset management program, that in our help desk, that this laptop, that this user has this laptop, so and so and so and so, and then the asset management program will tell you information about that laptop, say Dell Inspiron 1260 if there's such a laptop, or XPS 13 Professional or something like that from Dell. And then what it would do is have that information ready for you here. But what's happened also is that the AI has come back with this suggested response. Nobody wrote this, AI did, right? It generated it, coming back and saying, here's what we know is think we if it I don't know say it it we thinks is the proper response, and then you could either edit it as the staff person or you could send it right back to the user. So what you might want to do here is check, is this information correct for this about this cozy nice sleeping bag. So this is what I call an interactive chat. There could be other chats where this is response directly, and there's no intermediary person analyzing the situation and making edits or possible changes to the response that goes back to the user. Now there's two ways you can do it, and you can do both at the different times or different hours of the day if you want. But it's a kind of up to you. That's why there's a lot of flexibility and possibilities with this kind of thing. What it's showing here is that it's the guy's going to go, staff person is going to check if this is really really the right information for this cozy night sleeping bag, and it's going to verify that, and then the person could modify this, hit the edit button and modify this before they sent it back or not. Let's see what's going on. We'll see this in a second. But it's interesting how it's verifying that the Cozy Nights has that temperature rating, you see, and then it's going to say, okay, that's great. And now the guy's going to click the the respond back to the user button, and the user got the response. Now all this happens very, very quickly. It isn't like a long thing. So, okay, so the guy asks another question, what about the compass he bought? Well, now it knows something. Again, see how it's very quick response telling about the compass that the guy bought and all this other information. So it just end that right there and move on. But what I'm saying about this is quite interesting if you extrapolate that to a help desk situation and realize that you could do things like, let me just shut off that video on the other screen because it's going on and on. There we go. So you could extrapolate that to a help desk situation and say, okay, my printer, the sheets are coming out with low, looks like the toner needs changing. All right. So you know what printer it is because you know what printer that user or what department that person's in and what printer they're using. So you can say, okay, here's a response. There's a standard possible response from your FAQs or from your knowledge base about how to, it looks like you need to replace the toner cartridge. Okay, how do I do that? So at that point, you have a choice, and this is where these plugins come in the Azure world, in the Azure OpenAI world. You have a choice there when you're saying, how do I replace that toner cartridge? You could actually go out to a Bing search on the Dell site and bring back the details about how to change the toner, right? So let me show you that right here, if I can find here it is right here. This is ChatGPT. Of course, you'd be doing it without ChatGPT. You'd be doing it through the Bing search, but it comes back with the same thing. This was the pirate thing, but right before the pirate thing, I put in my blah, blah, blah printer is low on toner. How do I change the cartridge? Well, this is coming from information that's in the general, Bing search kind of model of information, not in your enterprise data. So you can actually do this hybrid where some of the information is coming from your internal FAQs and some of it's coming from the outside information, and combine the two and put it together to give a response. Now, the next thing is, okay, that's great. I know how to change it, but I need a toner cartridge to change. Where can I order one? So then it can go into, oh, to order one, you do this, this, and this. Or you can have a workflow that actually goes out and sends a purchase request to the person's manager saying, Seth needs to order this toner, and then it goes through our purchase request system. So you see, I have all these systems working together with the ChatGPT, with this OpenAI service to make this really integrated system where the person can ask about the toner, about the printer not being low on toner. You can give a response. You can tell them from Bing search how to replace it. You don't have to necessarily keep that in your FAQs. It's right there in the, in the big wide web under a Dell site, Dell support site. You bring it in. Then you can also say, okay, I need to purchase this. And then you could even in our purchasing system have connections out to Office Depot or Amazon or somewhere, and then make the order like that. You can start to see where this is going. I mean, it's like, it blows my mind. I've been in this a long time, and it's like just friggin' amazing. And where you can go, and like I say, we're only in the first inning where this is going to go, and it's exciting as all heck to me. I can't, I could do this all day and night. It's so fascinating. So sometimes I do actually. So let me explain a little bit what's going on so you can understand how this is working. And I can only go on to cover so much. There's a lot of technical detail. There's a lot of stuff going on in the back end, and our developers have been really excellent and work in conjunction, of course, with the whole community to find out how all this is going to work and take Microsoft's vision, which is really our vision of integrated, intelligent business process automation, and bringing it to the world. I mean, what's amazing is that this incredible process, incredible capabilities are now available to everybody, anybody really who wants to invest in this kind of, building these kind of applications, or working with us to build them, or if you're a consultant company, work with us to put it in place. And it's all Microsoft's, give them a lot of credit for what they've come up with. Well, here's how they work in this retrieval augmented generation. And not to get too nerdy about it, but basically there's a UI from the user where they enter a prompt. This could be just like, when I said, when is, talk like a pirate day, or how do I change the toner? Or it could be an email. That email would have to be pre-processed to extract out what information, but basically it can come from various sources, a web page, a web form. Usually it's from a prompt, though, that's just typed in, and then it goes to an orchestrator. The orchestrator then goes out to a search function, and now your enterprise data is sitting over here. Here's the point that I kept hearing in all these build videos. Your enterprise data is your enterprise data sitting in your environment, whether it's Azure or some other database. It is not brought into the large language model that's used to train the ChatGPT. It's kept separate. And not only that, you can take your enterprise data and permission it such that some people have rights to see some of the data and some people don't. They gave this example of a special project of maybe a server, they're changing buildings, or there's a project to move offices, and they only want people involved in the project to know about it and not anybody else. And they showed a way that the two different people could ask the same question of the enterprise data, and one person who has the rights to it would get a response. The other person would get a simple "I don't know" from the ChatGPT. So what happens here is this: there's a query, the orchestrator sends it to Azure Cognitive Search. The search is linked to various databases that your enterprise data. It's returned, and then the search query, maybe it's like 5 or 10 documents are returned. It goes into the OpenAI, the large language model, where it's refined and tested for appropriateness or that. And what we're using a large language model for here is understanding and reasoning, but not for actually, you're not really looking at all the World Wide Web data. You're only taking that snippet you got from the, that search component you got from the Azure Cognitive Search, passing it through the OpenAI, and then it comes back and goes back and forth iteratively till it comes up what it thinks is the right, most appropriate answer of that. Now, here's the thing: you don't have to use Azure Cognitive Search. Azure Cognitive Search, we've tried it, we used it, we get some pretty good results, but it has an expense to it that's pretty high because it's a very powerful search. There are other ways you can do it, such as vector databases that sit outside of, they can sit in Azure, but they're not Microsoft's, cognitive services. Here's a whole website on available connectors, Azure to vector databases. So, of course, Azure Cognitive Services there, but other ones you could work with. We've worked with Pinecone and others that we're finding, different kinds of results. What is a vector database and all this? So vectors, and I could go into the whole thing about vectors and how all that is related. I don't know how deep I want to go into that, but the idea is that you're trying to correlate semantically different words with each other. And so for every brief example, without getting too deep into it, is say you had apple, oranges, and you had words like apples, oranges, and the guy had this example of hamburgers. Well, they're all food, but apples and oranges are vector-wise closer to each other because they're both fruit than apples are to hamburger or oranges are to hamburgers. The whole idea is, and it's a very simplistic way of putting it, but the idea is that vectors are determining the mathematical relationship between the words in terms of context and semantic closeness, proximity. And I'm going to get too deep into the data science of that, but it's kind of what it's doing. Another way to look at this whole thing is another model, same idea, just put it in a different way. The user prompt comes in, queries the data, your enterprise data through cognitive search, or like I said, a vector database or whatever. It adds the results. It goes out to it models the response, goes out to the large language model, and goes back. And it's not quite this linear. There could be iterations that go back and forth through that orchestrator that I just sent there, and that I just showed earlier through the orchestrator, and that's how it gets the response. Quite fascinating how all this works. So all these new terminologies coming out that, at least at the programmatic level, we have to learn, such as retrieval, augmented generation, and this kind of thing, which is really fascinating to me because it puzzled me for quite some time. How are they going to get enterprise data into the large language model? And I thought, well, maybe you got to put it into, you know, the ChatGPT database and retrain it and fine tune and all those other words that, you know, all the other processes that have been mentioned. But obviously, fine tuning or add, you know, retraining the large language model is just ridiculously expensive. It just can't do it. It's like, unless you're like Microsoft with, you know, billions of dollars or something. So you wouldn't do it for enterprise data. You have to do this thing where you put your enterprise data in kind of a different silo, almost you could call it, and use the search functionality to return a certain results and then pass that to the large language model. I hope that makes sense. Takes a little bit to kind of get your head around it, but it does work. Now, what that, you know, going back one slide and talking about the data sources, well, this is where the data sources become very critical. What data is in there now? The searches, different kinds of searches have ways of managing a lot of different data and interpreting it, but you know, there's ways to make it better. So one part we're working on a lot is data optimization, and I want to bring up this slide of context, right? So we're talking about data context. What context is this application being used in is our question here, right? And the context it's being used in determines, you know, perhaps the meaning of this word exchange. So let's think about this. Word exchange could mean Microsoft Exchange Server if it's an IT environment. It could mean the New York Stock Exchange if you're in a financial or, you know, kind of a stock trading company. It could be currency exchange if you're in some financial company. It could be exchanging purchases at Nordstrom's if you're in a you know, retail or e-commerce situation, right? So the word exchange has to be contextualized in order to put into what the proper meaning is. And of course, there's ways to do that. But in one way, it's like, you know, you limit the domain of your application to the appropriateness of what's going on. So we're talking about a help desk or customer service. We're talking about a particular domain. You know, when the guy asked about, oh, can I use my sleeping bag in Patagonia? He's not about talking about Patagonia, the headquarters of Patagonia, wherever they're headquartered. I think it's maybe San Francisco or somewhere. He's not the company. He's talking about the country of Patagonia. How do I use my sleeping bag? And it's, you know, anyway, there's, you know, customer service domain, there's a help desk domain, there's a financial domain, there's an asset management domain, and these things are developed specifically to contextualize the data. Well, that's not enough. You also have to do data optimization. And we come in and help, you know, it's one of the things we're working a lot on. I call it distillation, anonymizing, transforming, summarizing. You know, these are different words we're using. I'm not a data scientist. I don't know if I'm using exactly the right words. If any data scientists are on this webinar, please excuse my lack of using the proper terminology, but I think the concepts are pretty much there. That you want to like distill down the essence of what the person's asking. So if you have a large email and the guy goes on and on and on about something, you want to distill it to know what is the person really saying. And we do it with our own minds, right? Like, what the heck is this guy talking about? And sometimes you got to go back for clarification, but you try and do that distillation of the data. You want to anonymize it to avoid privacy and other type issues. You may have to transform the data from one data type to another. You might have to summarize. You might want to assess the database for robustness. Is it, you know, accurate? Is it timely? You want to focus the data. You want to also talk about the denseness or appropriateness of the data. And like I say, these might not be the data scientist terms, but it's, you know, we work in the real world and deal with real data, such as ticketing. You know, you have a ticket, you have a help desk ticket, such as in our Nitro help desk program. Let me see if I can bring that up. It's one of these screens somewhere on my other page here. I'll find it eventually. Where are you? I know you're here somewhere. Our Nitro help. Here's a ticket right here. Let me bring it over. So you have a ticket, you know, such as this, and what happens is, you know, this is a form. It's very simple kind of Nitro form of it, but you can see there's a lot of data on this form that may or may not be relevant to the build it into a knowledge base, right? So you may say, hey, we got 10,000 tickets or something. A lot of information's in there. How do we extract? How do we distill it? How do we summarize it? How do we extract? How do we transform it? How do we anonymize it? So you don't necessarily need to know who the requester is and all the other information, and maybe that's even getting into privacy issues. You may not need to know some of this other, let's call it, you know, extraneous stuff. You separate the wheat from the chaff. It doesn't matter when it was resolved and what the priority and due dates were. Not really. And you know, you need all this from the work log. Maybe you just don't want you want to know who said it when, but you want to know some important information. These are all the kind of issues that come up when you're using certain kinds of data that have unstructured to, or like let's call it, I wouldn't call it unstructured because it's definitely structured, but it's more like it isn't optimized for that particular purpose of knowledge base or FAQ building. What we do and what we try to emphasize with our customers is the resolution field. You can be required when you finish or complete a ticket, and then you want to put in a nice short concise summary, and then you can start to use that kind of stuff. So it really depends on the quality of your data, how you enforce a compliance with certain kind of let's call it hygiene of the data, or completeness of the data. It's really quite interesting. And if anyone's interested in some beta testing with us, we've been using our own data from our Nitro help desk and support system. If anybody's got a good set of data, they want to work with us and see about this transformable capability. And is this worth transforming, all this 10,000 tickets or so into a knowledge base? Do you have a knowledge base going already? Are there other ways to do it? And even in the Azure Cognitive Services, there's ways to do what they call, it's kind of like a variation of forms recognizer, where you structure it all into a database and you tell it as a template, pay attention to these fields, but not these fields. And if you do pay attention to these fields, eliminate this other extraneous data from it, and on and on and on. So it's quite a fascinating, interesting, evolving field. I find this incredibly interesting, incredibly fascinating. And like I said, I've been in this a long time, 24 years or longer since I started the company. I was actually wrote my first computer program in 1975 when I was in high school. Isn't that crazy? So, long time, seen many, many changes. And I'm excited. This AI stuff is like a whole new world, and going a lot of places. And I think it's the culmination of many things that have been started previously, such as the, first there was like connecting computers. That's when I first got in it, was connecting computers, doing LANs, and Novell and the Microsoft what would they call it, system engineer or something, connecting all the computers together. Then there was connecting to the web and all the information on the web and mobile, and then the cloud. And now we're getting to the point where all that information and data in the cloud is available for artificial intelligence to eat up and consume. Are there ethical issues? Are there social issues? Are there other issues? Yes, there are. And that's something that would be a topic for another webinar. I saw some talks by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and it's a interesting question, I think, that we're all kind of grappling with. But for now, we're talking basically about using this with your enterprise data to improve your business process automation and accelerate your growth, your productivity, the efficiency, make life easier for the users, make better for your customers. And what's the most positive outcome we can do by incorporating these technologies from Microsoft in ways that really function well in the real world of business activity, and where the rubber meets the road, you could say. And this is what I find really exciting. And at this point in time, in this stage of the AI work, it's a very collegial, collaborative world. There's of course always competition, but I find a lot of the partners, a lot of people I talk with, even people that doing similar work in similar veins, are very cooperative about, and we're talking, and we're all excited and interested, and and enjoying going around to, call, when, I mean, if you've been in this 24 years, you have a network, right? So talking to the network of people that I engage in this, my fellow people in the industry, and it's exciting. We're all excited. We're all interested, and it's like in Zen they say, Zen mind, beginner's mind. In the expert mind, there's no possibilities, but in beginner's mind, there's many. So it's kind of coming back to beginner's mind of, wow, what is possible, what is out there, what can be done, and a lot of exciting things coming out. Like I said, we're in the first inning of this, I think, and we're going to see a lot of innovation, a lot of creativity, and we'd be glad to work with any of you on this webinar. Again, thank you for joining it. Hope it's been useful to give you a taste of where we're going and what the possibilities are, and of course, hopefully generate what the excitement is about this AI world that's going. where it's going and what the possibilities are. So again, I'll just point out that, we now call it an AI company. Of course, we're CrowCanyon.com, CrowCanyon Software, but we're oriented towards www.nitrostudio.ai to emphasize our AI focus. Right now, we have the intelligent platform, all these different services. We're glad to work with you to see what we can do with your situation. And I think these conversations, we're gonna have numerous conversations, whether you give us a call or, we set up a meeting or we see you at a show. We'll be at New York City. There's one in Times Square on July 29th. We're gonna be, I think we're gonna be in Seattle. I don't know if we firmed that up yet, at the 365 EduCon in Seattle in August 23rd, 24th, I believe it is. We're going to set ourselves up for a show in New England, October 21st. We're also going to Chicago for the EduCon. That's on the end of October, early November. And of course, there'll be other shows and other things going on. And hopefully we'll run into you. We'll have conversations. But and anytime you want to do a one-on-one demo, or you have put your team together and want to talk about this in more detail, see what we can do. Let's see what we can do together. Let's see what we can do to make this happen, to bring this AI, the value of it, in the most positive way to your organizations, whether you want to increase productivity, efficiency, profitability, or if you're a government or nonprofit, how to provide better service to your members or citizens. So I want to end it there. Anybody have questions? James, are you there? We got questions. I didn't see. It's funny. There's no questions. Like everybody's either too bedazzled or too like they all fell asleep. I don't know what. But if the questions do come up, we can answer them. And we'll be glad to talk to you about it. We're excited by it, and we love having these conversations. So to get in touch with us, Krista put hello@crowcanyon.com. Very positive person, Krista. She's like, hello. But you can send it to hello or sales. Give us a call or go to our website, and you can check out our where is it here? Our Nitro AI services page. I'll bring it over and see what we're doing, where we're going, and hope join us on this journey. So I want to thank everyone for attending. I thank Krista, James, for Prakash for helping support. And again, I encourage everybody to have conversations with us, to move this along and talk about what your needs are. We learn from each other and can grow. So thank you very much. I hope everybody has a nice day. I don't see any last minute questions, so I'll just end the webinar. We're always available by email if you have more. And again, thank you for attending. And I hope you have a great July 4th if you're in the United States. Well, I guess anywhere you can have a great July 4th, but hope to hear from you. Thank you.